Dear aspirants, this video is a part of the topic of the day series videos, and our today's topic is history and evolution of Indian banking system. History and evolution of Indian banking system. And that will be actually dealt in three phases: phase 1, phase 2 and phase 3. Now we'll actually get into the details of history of the evolution of Indian banking system, and we'll see phase 1 initially. Phase 1 is actually from 1770 to 1947, which is also known as pre-independence phase. It is known as pre-independence phase. So all the developments took place before independence. So of the developments which took place in phase 1, the first one is of 1770. This year has importance in Indian banking history because in this year only a Bank of Hindustan was established. Bank of Hindustan was the first modern banking institution of India. So if they ask you the question, which of the following is the first bank in India to be established, that was Bank of Hindustan in the year 1770, and Bank of Hindustan was actually headquartered at Calcutta. Currently it is known as Kolkata, capital of West Bengal. At that point of time it was known by the name Calcutta. So there it was started, but Bank of Hindustan ceased to exist in the year 1832. We'll move to the next point. So next year, which is important in Indian banking history, is to be specific, the date is 2nd June of 1806, which actually marked the inauguration of first presidency Bank of India, known as Bank of Bengal or Bank of Calcutta. Initially it was known as Bank of Calcutta, and later it was renamed as Bank of Bengal. It was formed in 1806, and it is the first presidency bank. Next, on 15th of April 1840, 15th April 1840, a second presidency bank was established, which was known as Bank of Bombay. It was established in Bombay, Bank of Bombay. And next, on 1st of July 1843, another presidency bank and the final presidency bank, Bank of Madras, was established. Bank of Madras, third presidency bank. Bank of Bengal, Bank of Bombay and Bank of Madras are together known as presidency banks. Presidency banks. Presidency is an area which was actually administered by British East India Company. This is a historical fact which we will be seeing in upcoming videos with respect to history for RRB and TPC. Currently we will be just concentrating on history of banking. We will not get into the details of history or polity. So presidency banks are a part of East India's Company's administrative convenience and economic needs. So East India Company was conducting trade in India at that point of time. So the revenue collected from Indian farmers, merchants, etc. has to go through a formal banking system. That is why for their administrative convenience they thought of establishing proper financial systems or financial institutions, which gave rise to the three presidency banks, one after the other. First one is Bank of Bengal, formed in 1806. Second one is Bank of Bombay, formed in 1840, and the third in the series is Bank of Madras, formed in 1843, and all three of them together are known as presidency banks. The next important point is all these three presidency banks on 27th of January 1921, which we have seen all the three presidency banks, namely Bank of Bengal, Bank of Bombay and Bank of Madras. On 27th of January in the year 1921, the three presidency banks were merged. Three presidency banks were merged to give rise to a single entity which was known as Imperial Bank of India. This is an important question. All three presidency banks were merged in the year 1921, to be specific on 27th of January 1921, and the larger entity, which was a result of merger of three presidency banks, was named Imperial Bank of India. And there is another very historical fact affiliated to Imperial Bank of India. This Imperial Bank of India, after independence, anyhow we'll see this later, in 1955 it was renamed as State Bank of India after nationalization. So you have to remember this. Imperial Bank of India was established in 1921, and after independence, during phase 2 of evolution of Indian banking system in the year 1955, Imperial Bank of India was nationalized and it was renamed as State Bank of India, which you are currently witnessing as the largest bank of India. Next point. Before that, I missed their chronological sequence was missed because this is an important fact. You have to remember that three presidency banks were merged to form Imperial Bank of India. So now I'll move back to chronological order. After 1843, we have to consider 1865 as one of the notable years of history of Indian banking or evolution of Indian banking, because in the year 1865 Allahabad Bank was established. Allahabad Bank was established and its headquarters was Calcutta at that point. Even now its headquarters is Kolkata, but recently it got merged with Indian Bank. So in 1865 Allahabad Bank was formed, and there was an important fact. I am using the word was because it was past. It was oldest existing bank. It was oldest existing bank until 1st April 2020. Oldest existing bank in India until 1st April 2020. On 1st April 2020, it got merged with Indian Bank and hence lost its status as an independent existing bank. So until 1st April 2020, Allahabad Bank was considered to be the oldest existing bank of India. Allahabad Bank. Now we'll move to the next historically important fact in Indian banking system that happened in 1894. This year witnessed the establishment of PNB, Punjab National Bank. Punjab National Bank was established in 1894 with its headquarters at Lahore, but currently the headquarters of PNB is located in New Delhi. It was later shifted to New Delhi after independence. As I already stressed, the point of Allahabad Bank was considered to be the oldest existing bank of India until 1st April 2020 before its amalgamation. After the amalgamation took place, out of the existing banks, PNB is considered to be the oldest bank. PNB is existent till even today, and it can be considered as oldest existing bank of India. Oldest existing bank of India. Oldest existing bank of India, Allahabad Bank. And there is one more important fact which is related to PNB. It was the first bank. It was the first bank in the history of Indian banking to be established with the help of 100% capital contributed by Indians. It was the first bank to be established in India where 100% capital, seed capital to start the bank was contributed by Indians alone without the involvement of Europeans. At that point of time, almost every bank has capital contribution from Europeans as well as Indians. But this is the first bank where European contribution was not there and the complete capital was contributed by Indian capitalists alone. Next point, in 1906, Bank of India and Canara Bank were formed. These are not so important, but just to know the details I am giving you. Bank of India and Canara Bank were formed. Bank of India and Canara Bank were formed in 1906 and Bank of Baroda was established in 1998. Bank of Baroda, which is headquartered at Vadodara, was established in 1908, and in 1911 Central Bank of India, 1911 CBI, Central Bank of India, was established. The last and important point which you have to remember with respect to first phase of Indian banking history is 1st of April 1935, which actually is the day of inauguration of Reserve Bank of India. RBI was established, or RBI came into existence. Reserve Bank of India, the Central Bank of India, or Apex Banking Institution of India, actually came into existence on 1st April 1935. At that point of time, RBI was established by or owned by private individuals with little government control. There was control of government, but the majority of the capital to establish RBI was contributed by private individuals at that point of time. It was established on 1st of April 1935. You have to remember one fact here. This actually is an important point which was asked several times, and this actually relates to the period of 1906 to 1911. During this particular period, there is a region in India where most of the banks got evolved, which is actually known as South Canara. South Canara is the southwestern part of Karnataka state, which includes two districts, the current day Mangalore and Udupi districts, which are together was known at that point of time as South Canara. And South Canara actually gave rise to majority of the banking institutions during this period of 1906 to 1911. Hence, it was popularly known as Cradle of Indian Banking System. Cradle of Indian Banking System, because it gave rise to majority of the banking institutions during the period of 1906 to 1911. Now we'll get into phase 2 of Indian banking system. Phase 2 is from 1947 to 1991. After independence and up to the announcement of a new economic policy. So phase 2 actually witnessed major changes in ownership of banking institutions in India. So this is the major point which you have to concentrate in phase 2, because ownership talks about who owns a particular company. Phase 2 witnessed nationalization of most of the banks of India. Most Indian banks which were actually performing well or having higher value of assets or higher net worth were nationalized during phase 2, that is between 1947 and 1991. And here the first important point we considered or first important date to be considered will be 1st of January 1949, which saw the nationalization of RBI. Nationalization of RBI, Reserve Bank of India, was established on 1st April 1935 and was nationalized on 1st January 1949. So, nationalization means transfer of ownership, or government will acquire, actually, either with coercion or with peaceful settlement. Government will own the rights of a certain company. So this transfer of ownership from private individuals to government is known as nationalization. So nationalization is nothing but the process of transfer of ownership from private individuals to the government. So the nationalization was an important phenomena during phase 2 of Indian banking evolutionary history. First organization to be nationalized after independence for India was Reserve Bank of India on 1st of January 1949. Then on 1st of July 1955, 1st of July 1955, as I have already said this fact, Imperial Bank of India, which was formed in 1921. Imperial Bank of India, which was formed in 1921 by merging 3 presidency banks at that point of time, was nationalized. It was nationalized and also renamed, and was renamed as State Bank of India, SBI. State Bank of India, SBI. So on 1st of July 1955, Imperial Bank of India, which was formed as a result of amalgamation of 3 presidency banks in the year 1921, was nationalized, and it was also renamed as State Bank of India, which is current SBI. The next important point with respect to evolution of Indian banking is on 19th of July 1969. So this is the date during which major nationalization took place. It is popularly known as first phase of nationalization of Indian banks. First phase of nationalization of Indian banks. Here not a single bank, majority of banks at that point of time were nationalized, which were having higher net worth. So during first phase of nationalization, which took place on 19th of July 1969, total 14 banks were nationalized. I am not going to mention the names here, but you have to remember the number, of course. There were 14 banks which were nationalized on 19th of July 1969 as a part of first phase of nationalization, and the criteria which was adopted for nationalizing these 14 banks was net worth or asset value greater than 50 crores. If any Indian bank at that point of time having a net worth of 50 crores and above was considered for a nationalization process. So you have to remember this fact also. 14 banks were nationalized during first phase of nationalization, which took place on 19th of July 1969, and the 14 banks which were nationalized were based on the criteria of having a net worth or asset value of greater than 50 crores. Next point. This is a very important event in the history of Indian banking system, which actually took place on October 2nd, 1975. October 2nd, 1975, I think everybody knows this. October 2nd, it is the birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi, celebrated as Gandhi Jayanti. On that day in the year 1975, India witnessed inauguration of first RRB, Regional Rural Bank. First Regional Rural Bank of India was inaugurated on October 2nd, 1975, and the name of the bank was Pradhama Gramina Bank. Pradhama Gramina Bank, established in the state of Uttar Pradesh by Syndicate Bank as a sponsor bank. We will see all these concepts related to RRBs in the upcoming videos. Currently, just remember, Syndicate was the sponsor bank for the establishment of Pradhama Gramina Bank, which was established in UP, and Pradhama Grameen Bank was actually the first regional rural bank to be established in India on October 2nd of 1975. And RRBs were the institutions which were established based on the recommendations of Narasimhan Committee. Narasimhan Committee recommendations led to the formation of regional rural banks, which are meant for the development of rural areas by providing formal finance. Next important point in the history of banking is with respect to nationalization. Again, this actually took place in the month of April in the year 1980. In the month of April, second phase of nationalization took place. It's the second phase of nationalization of Indian banks, where how many banks? This time there were 6 banks which were nationalized. 6 banks were nationalized in the second phase, and the criteria that was followed was any bank with assets or net worth over 200 crores. 200 crores or above. Over 200 crores will be considered for nationalization. So based on that criteria, 6 banks were nationalized in addition to 14 which were done during first phase. In the second phase, which took place in the year 1980 in the month of April, 6 banks were nationalized based on the condition the net worth of all the 6 banks was above 200 crore rupees. Next important fact took place in 1987. In 1987, India has got its first ATM established. First ATM of India was established in Mumbai, current day Mumbai, at that point of time Bombay, and the bank which has established the first ATM was HSBC. HSBC stands for Hong Kong Shanghai Banking Corporation. Hong Kong Shanghai Banking Corporation established the first ATM of India, and that too in the city of Mumbai in the year 1987. Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation is not headquartered either in Hong Kong or in Shanghai, but actually it's headquartered in London. So HSBC is headquartered in London. HSBC is the bank which established first ATM of India in the year 1987 in Mumbai. Now we can move to the third and final phase of evolution of Indian banking system, phase 3. Phase 3 is actually from post-independence in 1947 to 1991, which is a very important year in Indian economic history. 1991, at that point of time, Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister of India, and Shri P.V. Narasimha was the Prime Minister of India, and Mr. Manmohan Singh was the Finance Minister of India, and they have designed and implemented a new policy known as NEP, New Economic Policy of 1991, which introduced the concept of LPG into Indian economy. LPG stands for liberalization, privatization, and G stands for globalization. Liberalization, privatization, globalization. This concept was introduced as a part of new economic policy of 1991 under the finance ministership of Sri Manmohan Singh and prime ministership of Sri P.V. Narasimha Rao. That happened during this actually is the beginning of the third phase. I'm sorry, it's not 1947. It's actually from 1991 to the present. 1991 to the present, current date or current day. It's considered to be third phase. Third phase also has modern phase, which is included in third phase again. The first point to be noted in modern banking or modern phase was that happened in 1993. In the year 1993, New Bank of India. The name of the bank is name of the bank was New Bank of India, which was nationalized as a part of second phase of nationalization. It got merged. It was actually a nationalized bank which was nationalized during second phase of nationalization in 1980. But later in the year 1993, it got merged with the Punjab National Bank. It got merged with Punjab National Bank. And the second important point, 1994. As I have already mentioned, LPG policy was introduced through new economic policy in 1991, which opened the doors for private banking institutions and foreign banking institutions to establish their business entities in India. So in 1994, first private bank after independence or after introduction of LPG, first private bank of India was formed. Established. First private bank of India was established in the year 1994, and the name of the bank is IndusInd Bank. IndusInd was the first private sector bank to be formed after LPG, introduced through new economic policy of 1991. IndusInd is the first private sector bank that was formed in 1994. Here I should definitely mention a point. On looking all the points which were mentioned, you might think the private banks came into existence. As said, IndusInd was the first private bank, and thereafter many private banks came into existence. Now you can see ICICI, Yes Bank, HDFC, Axis, etc. All these are private banks, and they came into existence through LPG, which was introduced through new economic policy of 1991. And the process which actually led to establishment of private banks was not privatization, LPG, but it's not privatization which resulted in the establishment of private banks, it was liberalization. The concept of privatization did not see the emergence of private banks, but it was liberalization which actually resulted in the establishment of private banks. You will come to know these things. What is the difference between privatization and liberalization when we teach the same concept in economics? To have some clarity, I'll just give you the definition of privatization. Privatization means sale of government ownership or government stake. We call technically it as a stake, that to the extent of greater than 51% in a government owned enterprise to a private individual or a private entity is known as privatization. Here IndusInd Bank was not established through any sale of government owned company. It was established as a separate entity, legal entity, following rules and regulations. So it's not a part of privatization, it's actually liberalization. You'll get clear picture while we deal with LPG topic in economy part. The next important point with respect to the history of Indian banking took place on 19th of November 2013, which has seen inauguration of Bharatiya Mahila Bank. Bharatiya Mahila Bank was started with New Delhi as its headquarters. It was formed through a capital from Nirbhaya Fund. I know you, I think you know about the Nirbhaya case, etc. And later, to provide sufficient safety measures to girls and women, Government of India has established a fund known as Nirbhaya Fund. Out of that Nirbhaya Fund, completely women-run bank was established, which was headquartered in New Delhi, and that bank was known as Bharatiya Mahila Bank. But in the later stages, we will see that point later, it was merged with SBI. Now Bharatiya Mahila Bank is not existent. It was got actually merged with the State Bank of India on 1st of April 2018. Okay, 2013 Bharatiya Mahila Bank was established, and later it was merged with State Bank of India. Now we will see the next point. That actually happened on 1st of April in April 2016. It happened in April 2016. It's actually modern phase of Indian banking. Before mentioning this point, I have to mention another event which actually resulted into this event. In 2014, Reserve Bank of India formed a committee, and the head of the committee was Mr. Bimal Jalan, an ex-RBI governor. He was given the task of framing guidelines or devising rules for granting licenses, new category of banks, known as payment banks and small finance bank. Payment banks and SFBs, we popularly call them as SFBs, small finance banks. Actually, the entities to get under license have to qualify certain criteria, and those criteria were actually laid down under the expertise of Mr. Bimal Jalan, ex-RBI governor, as the committee was established by RBI in 2014 under his chairmanship. After scrutinizing the guidelines, RBI gave permission to 10 payment banks and 11 small finance banks, out of which in April 2016, first SFB, First Small Finance Bank of India, commenced its operations. First SFB of India was Capital Small Finance Bank Limited. Capital Small Finance Bank Limited. This was the first small finance bank to commence its operations in India, and that happened in April 2016. And then in the next year, in March 2017, another important event took place. First payment bank was inaugurated, and the first payment bank to be inaugurated was Airtel Payments Bank. Airtel Payments Bank is headquartered in New Delhi, and it was the first payment bank to be started in India. And Capital Small Finance Bank, which was the first small finance bank to be inaugurated in India, is headquartered at Jalandhar, Punjab. Capital Small Finance Bank is the first small finance bank launched in April 2016, and Capital Small Finance Bank Limited is headquartered in Jalandhar, Punjab. In March 2017, India witnessed the establishment of first payment bank, which was Airtel Payments Bank, and it was headquartered in New Delhi. And on 1st April 2017, 1st April 2017, there were actually 5 associate banks of SBI. 5 associate banks of State Bank of India. I think you have heard State Bank of Mysore, State Bank of Hyderabad, State Bank of Trivandrum, State Bank of Indore, etc. There were 5 such associated banks of SBI as on 1st April 2017, plus I have already mentioned this, Bharatiya Mahila Bank established in 2017. So 5 associated banks of SBI and 1 Bharatiya Mahila Bank. Total 6 entities on 1st April 2017 got merged with the State Bank of India. Got merged with SBI, resulting in largest bank of India, and throughout the world it is the 45th largest banking institution, 45th largest in the world and largest in India. SBI is the largest bank of India, or 45th largest bank in the world. It was formed on 1st April 2017 after a merger of 5 associated banks of SBI plus Bharatiya Mahila Bank. On 1st April 2017, SBI emerged as 45th largest banking institution in the world, or largest Indian bank. And on 1st April 2020, or I'll give you one more additional point which actually took place on 1st September 2018. This is also important point. This is the date of the establishment of or inauguration of IPPB. I think the full form of IPPB is India Post Payment Bank. So it's a payment bank started by Postal Department of Government of India. And the most important point with respect to IPPB is it's a 100% central government owned, 100% government owned payment bank. That's why it's categorized as public sector bank. That is why IPPB is categorized as public sector bank, because 100% capital was contributed by Government of India. And lastly, a very recent thing which took place on 1st of April 2020. Merger of banks. Merger of public sector banks. Actually 10 public sector banks merged and resulted in the formation of 4 large public sector entities. 10 banks were merged to form 4 entities after merger. We'll see this as a separate topic. So this ends the history and evolution of Indian banking system. I can tell you another important point here. Note, we have already seen payment banks, which is a modern concept, and we have seen small finance banks. And the intention behind the establishment of payment or small finance banks is to achieve financial inclusion. So the main objective of payment banks or small finance banks is to achieve 100% financial inclusion, especially concentrating majority of the branches in rural areas. So this completes the theoretical part of history and evolution of Indian banking system. Now we can see probable questions on this topic. First question is, the first phase of bank nationalization took place in which of the following years? 1973, 1956, 1980, 1969, 1975. So the answer is 1969. And second place actually took place in 1980. And 73 witnessed GIC, General Insurance Corporation of India, that was nationalized in 1973. LIC was formed in 1956. 1st of September 1956 is the date of establishment of Life Insurance Corporation of India. Question number 2. Which of the following category of banks were established based on the recommendations of Sri Narasimhan Committee? We have seen this point. So on 2nd of October 1975, Pradhama Gramin Bank was formed, categorized as regional rural bank. So regional rural banks were formed on the recommendation of the Narasimhan Committee. So the answer is option number 5, regional rural banks. First ATM of India was established by which of the following banking institutions? It happened in 1987 in the city of Mumbai, and that was done by HSBC, Hong Kong Shanghai Banking Corporation. Which of the following bank was established solely means completely by Indian capitalist. So first Indian bank to be established completely by Indian capitalist, or 100% capital contributed by Indian capitalist, was Punjab National Bank, PNB, which is the private sector bank to come into existence in India after LPG in 1991. So the question is asking the first private sector bank that came into existence after new economic policy of 1991. So I have told you that it's IndusInd Bank. So thanks for watching my video. Hope it gave you some insights into history and evolution of Indian banking system. If you found it useful, please do like, share and subscribe this share this video, and please do subscribe my channel. Share this video with your friends and get more subscribers to our channel. And I have given the entire content in the form of PDF, which will be attached in the description. You can download the PDF of this entire topic from the description link. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much.